Hey, what's up, everyone? You are listening or watching my comic book journey podcast, and this is a Café du Comic section. And this time, I'm going to talk about an interesting live stream that I caught yesterday, and I really found it very, very intriguing. This was two YouTubers, StickyGoose Comics and Comic Tom from Comic Tom 101, a businessman who pretty much has a comic book subscription service and I believe a comic book company and he's a writer and has a lot of things going there. More and Sticky Goose is a collector. He's been gaining traction because he's a YouTuber that kind of goes against the grain of what other YouTubers are doing right now for the comic book scene. So let's see here. When it comes to comic books, a lot of the well-known ones are pretty much known for the business side, promoting comic books, CBC graded, and making money business wise. It has its following. No different from people who invest, people who collect baseball cards or sporting cards or cards in general, or even action figure toys. Right? Sticky Goose is a collector, but at the same time, he's different. He's not in it for the business. He's in it for, collecting, but at the same time, getting, doing little business, I guess you could say, to get better comic books, which is not bad. Everyone wheels and deals sometimes in their life when you collect, and especially if you go to comic book shows. But you're having two different types of comic book fans together, and this is going to be interesting because when it comes to certain areas, when it comes to fandom, you could talk about Star Trek or sci-fi fandoms to even anime conventions and fandoms there, even the cosplay community. You're going to have certain people that may be in that same area of fandom, but they oppose each other in their terms of views, right? For example, for cosplayers, you have cosplayers who will talk about they do it to capture the authenticity of the video game or comic book character. They do it for the craftsmanship, trying to make things look cool, look hot, look awesome. And then there's the other side who want a lot of attention. And, some people call them sexy cosplayers. And, of course, who gets the most attention? Who's the one that's getting the most photography? And who's the one that's getting most talked about? Of course, they both can get attention, but at the same time, you see cosplayers, especially on the forums, really getting hot and in terms of anger, frustration, because they do not agree. They don't come in the middle. They do know that they love the hobby of cosplaying, but they kind of oppose each other in the way they go about it. So you have that. And then, you see on YouTube, during the pandemic, you had financial investors, Stephen Graham, me, Kevin, and, promoting certain things that people can do to invest. And now you're seeing this reversal where people are now going against that, saying you're disingenuous, you're promoting things that you say were hot. A lot of people got into it, they lost money. And I think this topic, this stream, I believe both YouTubers, they have their own community that really works well for them. I feel that, let's talk about Comic Tom 101. He does the hottest 10 comic books in the world. Something that I watch, I catch all the time because it's interesting for me. Although I do not collect comic books any longer, it's mainly because I have generations of comics books that I've purchased from various estates to everything. I am reading now. I'm at the point where I read. I'm not in it for the business. I'm not in it to make money. But the thing is, I do enjoy the comic what he provides because he provides excitement in the comic book industry. It's almost the same excitement that I was very interested in back in the early '90s when Garib Shamus created, you know, along with the staff, Wizard magazine. Wizard magazine was huge, very huge. People saw interviews with the hottest comic book writers, artists, you name it. But they also used their platform to make the top 10 comic books. And whether or not you agree, the thing is, they were successful. I feel that Comic Tom 101 is very successful in doing that. And, whether or not you believe it or not, that's subjective, right? But what Wizard did back then was they created that platform that helped promote Image Comics, Valiant, and really made independent comics well known that it's okay to step outside of the boundary of Marvel and DC and check out these other ones. In fact, these independents became so popular and were making in the top 10 when Marvel and DC were like, what the hell is going on? And of course, you know what happened with the comic book industry, especially during the mid 90s to the late 90s. But the thing is that Wizard Comics definitely did something special that captivated a lot of people. And of course, then you get a counter. Magazine that did something different with Hero that came, years after. But the thing is that what Comic Tom 101 does is great for his audience who enjoy that. For me, I watch it because I enjoy what he has to say and showing the 10 comic books in the world and to find out, do you have these? Do I have those? It's just really interesting to hear why it's popular, and it's almost different every other day or whenever they post it. Aside from the fact that Secret Wars with the Black Spider-Man outfit, and you'll see that quite a bit, or the first appearance of Gambit. By the way, I'm a little sour on that. I talked about my podcast about how I do no longer have those comic books anymore. A little angry about it, but let's move on past that, right? But the thing is, yeah, I think it's what he's doing is pretty cool in that aspect. Now, StickyGoose Comics, he is different. He is very different. I look at him as the like the person who is the opposite of the comic book industry, the one that's trying to come in and just say, hey, I'm against what you're doing. In a way, I'm not saying they're the same, but it kind of reminds me of what Jim Shooter did back when he created Valiant, and also then he went to Defiant, trying to say, hey, we are not Marvel, we are not DC, we're the opposite of that, we're going to be doing something different from that. Sticky Goose, in a way, is the rebel. And people love that because he's not like the other comic book YouTubers who are promoting or about getting their stuff graded. I mean, he does it. Don't get me wrong, he does it, and he has comic books that have been graded. But the thing is, it's not all about that. He'll go to a comic book shop. He'll give you his feelings. May it be frustrating. May it be something that you may say, hey, I agree with you. And, also there are dealers that are just not cool. And I think a lot of us have that experience when you go to anime conventions and comic book conventions, and you meet dealers who, you know what, their business. They talk bad. Why are they talking bad about my collection? What the hell is this person doing? Why is he talking down to me? What makes him do? I see Sticky Goose doing that. And in a way, there are people who've had those experiences. So they say, you know what? You speak the truth, man. I totally understand that. But at the same time, I think he, being the rebel that he is, there are people who get rubbed the wrong way. But at the same time, I look at it as, well, it's like an athlete, right? You watch an athlete, they could do great things on the field, maybe basketball, football, baseball, you know it. But they could be totally different from from what they do in sports and what they do in real life and their behaviors outside of sports. And the thing is that I think with Sticky Goose, watching him and watching quite a few of his videos, or quite a good number of his videos, I think he makes good points, but at the same time, it's at the cost of what other people who support business comic book podcasts do. And you're either going to like it or you're going to hate it. And the way I look at it is that I support him in doing things his way. Not everyone is going to love it, but the thing is, it's a perspective that works because it puts him in a category of comic book YouTubers that are not like the others. And you kind of need that. You don't want everyone being all the same, talking about the same things. You want someone being a little different, and he provides that. So, in a way, having these two, Sticky Goose Comics versus Comic Tom, in a way, it was almost like watching a political debate. And I think that almost like most political debates, you're going to say, oh man, that this person won, that person won, this person got burnt or trashed or toasted or not prepared to talk or whatever. It's just, the thing is that the way I looked at it is that there are two different types of comic book collectors, and those type of comic book collectors are never going to mesh. And I'm going to give you an example here, and here's a big one: Hot Wheels collectors, right? They are probably, when it comes to the toy collecting, the coolest and the most despised collectors that you'll ever meet. And I say this because it's well known already. Go to a Target, go to the Hot Wheels area, go there at lunch, on your lunch break, during work, or go there during the weekend, during the morning, and just see how they behave. You could go in there and say, hey, I'm just buying a car, something that looks cool, something I like. I'm just going there for that. And then you have those collectors who are in it. They'll go through it. They'll spend almost an hour going through the aisles, looking for treasure hunts, looking for something they could flip and make money from. And you will see people who are there who are looking for a Skyline, a Nissan Skyline, or a really cool car, but then you'll say you find it, and then next thing you know, you put it in your cart. Watch the other type of comic book collector, who's not in it for the car itself, for the fun of collecting, to open it. They're in it to look at, hey, I want that car. That's something I can make some money on eBay. And they'll give you mad dog looks. it's something that I, as a comic book and a toy collecting person, I've experienced it many times, and in a way, it's kind of interesting because like with Hot Wheels, you could go there. There could be like 5 or 10 or even 15 people, and you could even go on Discord or go on forums. There are people groups now that have teamed up to have, you know, scouting parties, going to all the Targets or WalMarts, hiding toys in the back so other people can get, other collectors, their friends can get them, or people who make friends with the stalkers of that aisle, and hoping they'll hold something back in the back and then bring it in while they're there. It's no different from back then when, remember when KBs and the toy stores used to be around? I remember back then, not it was with what was it, Marvel? I think it was the Toy Biz. You know, you got the Marvel superheroes. Even back then, with the Kenner stuff, there used to be these collectors that were so hardcore, and you had to, even the people who worked there, you were almost competing with them, and you'll never know if you have a chance to even get that toy that you wanted. It's the same thing with Pokemon collectors. They are very, you know, anything that involves money, anything that involves rarity, or something that involves people who want to flip. It's that time. It's that time of. Well, I guess it's more of the times today, right? That people are doing that more and more. No different though from the '90s. I talked about in my podcast where when Death of Superman came out, I, because I was cool with the owner of the store, because I buy a lot. She saved several bagged issues of the Death of Superman for me, and of course there are people there, dozens of people wanting to get that issue, and I think she got like maybe 10 or so, and I got 4 of them. And of course, this is back when I was in college, and I know that people were pissed. They're like, "Hey, why is this guy getting more, and you're only giving us one or whatever?" And it's just more of, it's the relationship you have, and how much you've spent at that store. But of course, it's not going to please everyone. People are going to say, that's fucking not fair. And some people are going to say, hey, you should limit it to one or so. It just, everyone's all different when it comes to that. But yeah, I can understand, the collector's mentality, and you have different types of collectors and those who are in it for the money. And case in a big example right now, the Shohei Ohtani 50-50 ball, and the money that person got, and how people were fighting for that ball, and there are some lawsuits right now because they showed a kid who had it, and the guy who took it away, or they all fought for it, and really it is what it is. It's just, people want to make money through a collectible. People want to make, that quick buck. And comic books is not a quick buck. It's nothing like GameStop stocks, or stocks that people got in and they were able to make thousands of dollars and stuff like that, or people who gosh, I'm trying to think of examples, but I know there's several of them. For some reason, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is coming to mind. That's not a good example right there. But anyway, I think if anything, this was an intriguing conversation, but at the same time, I felt that it was not going to bode well, because both are passionate in their perspectives, and I wasn't sure what this was. This going to be a debate among peers in the comic book industry, or was this set up to be one perspective versus another, like a Democrat versus Republican, liberal versus conservative, or something like that? And it's going to be tough because you have a lot of people who believe one way, and you have a bit of people who believe the other way. And I don't know. The way I look at it is that it was a interesting, fascinating conversation that probably didn't end the best, and the follow up to that, I don't know. I don't know. May not have been the best, but at the same time, I understand it because that is how Sticky Goose does things, you know, and he has every right to. And it's just the thing is they're just two opposing points of view. And again, this is nothing new. We've seen it in the comic book industry before, not just with comic book collectors and comic book businesses. We've seen it with comic book artists, comic book writers, and it's a industry that's not short of drama. Trust me. From the Image Comics during the Liefeld situation, the ouster of Jim Shooter from Marvel. There's just so many examples throughout the years, and lawsuits and all these things that have gone on, and it's just it is what it is. But for these two YouTubers, two different YouTubers, not on the same platform, opposite points of view, they made their points. And if anything, as the listener or the viewer, depending which side you are in, you know, it was definitely interesting. And to tell you the truth, I kind of wanted to give the Kevin Hart when he asked Don Cheadle his age in that interview, and his reaction was "damn." That's how I felt when watching this live stream. But at the same time, both men. I hope they came out of it not more of bitter or like, man, this sucked, or this. I look at it is that this is two people with opposing views presenting to a comic book community audience on YouTube. It's bound to happen. It was going to happen someday or sooner or later. Those things should happen because everyone should have a choice of having, different perspectives to comic book collecting. I watch other comic book podcasts, and I hear people like, "Oh, you shouldn't collect so many comic books because you're a hoarder. That makes you a hoarder." Well, I guess that makes me a hoarder. And they're like, "You should only collect the certain issues that are hot, and the rest you could probably just discard." It's not me. I like comic books. I read them. I'm a completionist, so I like to read from beginning to end. And it's not the most coolest thing of being that comic book collector because it can get very expensive, especially if you want to purchase every issue. And also, if you're a completionist, just having those little holes in your collection kind of unnerves you. Hence the uncanny X-Men, where I sold a family member the first appearance of Gambit, actually my Uncanny X-Men, for like the whole collection because I was thinking of I was done with comics, gave it away for like $300. That's it, everything, the whole 2 or 3 long boxes that I had, and just to find out 3 or 4 years later I regret it and ended up buying everything all over again. And now I have that one hole in my Uncanny during that. Well, I don't have anything under issue 100 and before, and I definitely, well, I have a few, but I don't have like the giant size X-Men or anything like that. But in terms of, let's say, the from the 80s to the early 2000s, I have pretty much, I have that hole, which is the first appearance of Gambit, and that sucks. And of course, sold the same person the Deadpool first appearance as well. But you know what? It is what it is. And the thing is that you learn, you live and learn from comic book collecting, and you know, sometimes, you know, people like to say that I want to sell this and that, especially with video games, and next thing you know, they come to regret it. Well, I've been through that many times, and the way I look at it is that, you know, right now, as a former comic book purchaser, but still has a large comic book collection, right now I'm at that point of my life where I'm just reading it for the journey. I could talk about it on my podcast and not get any views. That doesn't matter to me, because for me, I look at it as chronicling, and that's something that is nothing that most people want to do. I just like reading and talking about it, and whether or not people want to read it or not, that's perfect. I mean, or even listen to it or watch it, that's perfectly fine for me, because I'm doing it as a way, almost like a journal. And where other people are doing it for entertainment viewers and for business, I definitely am not. But with that being said, I just want to say that Sticky Goose Comics and Comic Tom 101, you guys are doing great for what you do. You have your viewers that you have been supportive of and very defensive of and very good with. The melding of the two worlds is something that just is something that you don't, you know, it was very interesting. It was very interesting. But in a way, this coming of the two kind of remind me of Valiant and Image Comics with Deathmate. Anyone remember that? That limited series? Look it up. Okay, everyone, that is it. And yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Hopefully both men, you know, hopefully they have a round two. But this time, you know, have some topics. Share some topics they could discuss, and move on from there. And as for Sticky Goose, hope to see more of this, but with other YouTubers out there. I know he's invited some of them, especially those who have been talking negatively about him. But you know what? The way I look at it is that if you're going to talk crap, you know, own up to it. Do a one-on-one. It's all good. I think if anything, it makes, you know, perfect sense to have that conversation. If anything, if there's any positive conversation that comes out of it, that's good. That, you know, if it entertains people, or I think if anything, people like to hear these type of discussions. Not when it gets hot and, you know, and flamey, and I don't know. I think for some people, and looking at the comics already, that live stream left a bitter taste for some people. But at the same time, it's what I kind of expected. It's like a political debate. So, okay, everyone, you all take care, and I'll see you later. Wink, wink, and take care, everyone. Bye-bye.